Okay, quick video looking at a fundamental mathematical skill, subtraction. So the first one here, we've got 145 from 327. So the bigger number, the one we're taking away from at the top, the one that we're taking away at the bottom. Make sure you line your columns up correctly, units in the far right, then tens, then hundreds. Okay, so units first. 5 from 7 gives us 2. 4 from 2 we can't do, so we need to borrow from the column to the left, which is 10 times bigger. So if we take 1 from there, it's 10 for the column that we're currently using. So 4 from 12 gives us 8, and then 1 from 2, 1. And then pop your answer in for 2 marks. Okay, perhaps you'd like to have a quick go at the second one. If you pause the video and then restart when you're ready, and I'll work through it. Okay, so again, make sure it's written clearly with everything lined up in the correct place value columns. 6 from 1, obviously we can't do that, so we borrow. 6 from 11 gives us 5. 4 from 7, 3. And 3 from 4, 1. Hopefully that's what you got. Okay, sometimes these questions are worded a bit different. Here it says find the difference between, but it's the same thing. The difference between two numbers is one number subtracted from the other. So the bigger one at the top, a smaller one underneath. Line it up in the same way. 5 from 3 we can't do. Obviously can't do the 0, so we have to take from the 9 there, so that becomes 89 now. 1 digit less. And we now have a 1 in front of the 3, so that's 13. 5 from 13 gives us 8. 4 from 9, 5. And 2 from 8, 6. Again, pop that in there. Okay, this time we've got a 4-digit one, but again, it's an opportunity for you to check your understanding of this method. So have a go. If you pause the video, restart it when you're ready. I'll go through it. All right, the number we're taking away from there at the top. Number we're taking away at the bottom. Working from units first, 2 from 8 gives us 6, 4 from 4, 0. 5 from 3 we can't do, so we need to borrow again. We borrow 10, it now becomes 5 from 13, which is 8, and 1 from 8, 7. So no different from doing it with 3 digits really. Probably is a bit more important to make sure it's lined up and written accurately the more digits we have, as there's more scope for getting it wrong and subtracting from the wrong columns or whatever. Okay, this one's worded a bit different, but see if you can work it out. Have a go. Again, if you pause the video, restart it when you're ready. I'll go through it. Okay, so it's 5-digit subtraction. Basically wants to know how many units of electric used. So if we subtract what we started with, the previous reading, from what we currently have, the present reading, that will tell us how many units have been used. So the present reading at the top, the previous reading at the bottom. Again, starting with the units, 1 from 2 gives us 1, 8 from 2 doesn't work, so we need to borrow from there. And that now becomes 8 from 12, which gives us 4. We now need 3 from 0, which doesn't work, so we need to borrow a 10. And we're going to have to take that from this 30 here. That becomes 29. So now 3 from 10, 7. And now we're going to get zeros, aren't we? 9 from 9 and 2 from 2. So we end up with just 741 units. Okay, which is hopefully what you got. Okay, one further question then. Part A, Part B, set out a bit differently. Notice there are 3 marks for each of these parts. A little bit more work to do, obviously, but if you've got this technique, the method for subtracting, hopefully you should be okay now. A bit more challenging though. So have a go, pause the video, and then restart when you're ready. Okay then, so looking at the first one, at part A first, well, we've got a 9 in the units column. Now, the only way we could have achieved a 9, obviously, there's nothing below 4 we can take away to get 9. But if we take 5 away from 4, we will get 9. Because we will have to borrow 1, won't we? So it becomes 5 from 14. Probably the easiest way of doing that is to just think, well, if I add 5 to something, how do I get 14? It's obvious that it's going to be 14 because we can't stop with 4, can we? So what do I need to add to 9 to get 14? 5. Okay, well now 5 from 1, again, you know you're going to need to borrow from the column here. So this number here is going to be 1 bigger than what it might suggest when we look at the result from there. So I'll just put that little note in there that I have actually borrowed 10 from there. So now it becomes 11, which gives us a 6 here. So 5 from 11, 6. And now, well, 1 from something is 6. So you'd think it was 7, but obviously it started off as 8 because we've took 1 off, haven't we, in order to get the 10 from the previous subtraction. And that's that filled in. Generally with these questions, it's 1 mark per correct number. Okay, the next one starts off a bit easier. We've got 1 here in the units column, so obviously that must be 2. 1 from 2 is 1. Right, we've now got 8 from 0, but nothing's been carried, so it's fairly straightforward. We can't take 8 from 0, so we know it's got to be 10. And we know that's going to give us 2. And then finally, well, 5, if the answer's 5, we've took 3 away from something to get 5. That would be 8 normally, wouldn't it? But we've borrowed 1, so a bit like the previous one. So if you're not sure with these, you can always add up the answer with what we've took away. So in this instance, 521 with 381, just to make sure that it comes to 902. And above, same thing, 155 plus 669. Okay, well, hopefully that's helped with subtraction. Very important mathematical skill, one of the fundamentals of mathematical method.